that link BPA to various illnesses. And as Louise Schiavone now reports, products containing BPA are widely used throughout this country.
From baby bottles to sippy cups to food can liners to water bottles hydrating the youngest athletes, consumers have been exposed to a root chemical called bisphenol A, or BPA, an artificial sex hormone used as a core building block in close to 7 billion pounds of plastic on the market today because of its strength and resiliency.
This isn't a weak contaminant. This is a powerful contaminant, and it's striking right at the core of American public health.
From the National Institutes of Health to independent scientists, researchers say BPA could be a factor in cancer, infertility, and behavioral disorders. But for now, the Food and Drug Administration is not ready to sound the alarm, telling Lou Dobbs tonight, quote, "At this time, FDA is not recommending that anyone discontinue using products that contain BPA while the agency continues its safety assessment process. However, if concerned consumers wish to avoid or limit their exposure to BPA, alternatives to PC baby bottles, such as glass bottles, are available, say health and environmental advocates.
Yeah, but that's not fair, because the American public needs for the government to say there is a risk associated with this. Not as worried about the risk, go buy something else. It should be taken off the market.
California is one of 13 states trying to take matters into its own hands.
Get rid of it. Let's not do more to jeopardize the potential healthy development of our babies and infants.
State Senator Carol Midgen wants BPA out of all products for children 3 years of age and younger.
Look, while the FDA believes for now that BPA migrates into human food at levels that are safe, industry is taking its cue from public concern, recalling bottles containing BPA and replacing some products without it. Lou?
But the FDA had reported that there were issues with BPA previously. Well, what's going on here?
There was a report from the National Institutes of Health about a year ago that raised alarms because this is something that is used this was originally an artificial sex hormone, and there are concerns about prostate cancer, breast cancer, infertility, issues about ADD in children. And the chemical industry, as you can imagine, is very concerned about these reports. So the FDA said, look, we're just going to review all of these reports. And today, I've had several exchanges with the FDA today, and they stand by their assertion that as long as they cannot demonstrate, in their view, that harmful levels of BPA migrate into the human body, they're not going to advise people to stop using products that contain these.
So they would not err on the side of safety for the American consumer, is what they basically are saying.
Well, all right. It's so amazing because they took down the entire tomato industry for several months, and they never had a single tomato, but they do have demonstrations of BPA in several plastic containers, concerns among parents, adults, and so on.
Absolutely. All right, Louise Schiavone, thank you very much. Well, as Louise just reported, BPA is widely used in baby bottles, compact discs, and medical devices of all sorts. Scientists at the Centers for Disease Control detected BPA in 93% of the people they tested. That indicates, obviously, widespread exposure to BPA throughout our society. The National Institutes of Health warning that BPA could cause, quote, neural and behavioral effects in fetuses, infants, and children at current exposure levels. Where is the FDA? Canada has declared BPA to be, quote, are you ready, FDA? Quote, hazardous material, end quote. In spite of all of that, the FDA is standing by its decades-old approval of bottles that contain BPA as safe. The FDA cites 2 studies, both of them funded by, are you ready? Both of those studies funded by the plastics industry. Shocking. I bet that surprised you greatly.
Wrong door. Oh, sorry, wrong door. My name is Fred Vamsal. I'm a professor of biology at the University of Missouri in Columbia. Most of what we know, with a few exceptions, come from studies of animals, rats, mice, laboratory experiments. And what we've seen in those studies is that there's brain damage, and the animals exposed to very low amounts of, say, bisphenol A show attention deficit disorder, hyperactivity, and neurochemical changes that are associated with ADHD in humans. That is a decrease in the neurotransmitter dopamine, which is also implicated in causing Parkinson's disease. So we have neurochemical changes, brain changes, hyperaggression. The other thing we see is the entire male reproductive system is abnormal. And that's very easy to understand because this is an estrogen, and estrogens during development are known to lead to abnormalities in the male reproductive system. In the male, it also causes prostate cancer. That is expressed later in life. In females, the interesting thing about this chemical is it causes chromosomal damage in the eggs in a female's ovaries. And it's implicated in miscarriage in animal studies, and there is actually a human study in Japan where women with elevated levels of bisphenol A were the women who were repeatedly miscarrying, never able to have a successful pregnancy. And so the animal data and the human data are identical. The other thing bisphenol A causes in animals is polycystic ovarian disease, called PCOS, and uterine fibroids, the major source of infertility and hysterectomy in women. And then finally, everybody knows there's an obesity epidemic. This chemical causes obesity when you're exposed to it during early life, and it leads to type 2 diabetes. And the final one that women are, of course, concerned with, when you're exposed to this during the period when the breast tissue is differentiating, later on in life, it causes breast cancer.
You basically just listed most of the major public health kind of problems in the United States.
30 years ago, diabetes, type 2 diabetes, was called adult onset diabetes. It's now occurring in 5-year-olds. That had never happened before. And if you look at the incidence of diabetes and the production of bisphenol A, they parallel each other identically. One of the other things to emphasize is we are most concerned about these chemicals because if you disturb development of a baby, the consequences of that are forever.
Yeah.
One of the things that we found out in the Vioxx scandal, that it took a whistleblower from within the FDA to come out and say the FDA has all of the evidence that Vioxx is killing people. But this is according to the FDA regulator who turned in the FDA essentially. He said this is an agency that once they make a decision, they do not want the public to think that they make wrong decisions. And so what their strategy is to try to deny that they would ever make a mistake, even at the expense of a major public health disaster. This is an agency that doesn't acknowledge error.
So they're more concerned with saving face
than saving people.
There you go.
You think you're being healthy, you grab a bottle of water on the go, even reusing that bottle to help the environment. Well, the water may be fine, but you might need to worry about the bottle instead.
These are the 7 deadly plastics. Let each one take a bow. And this is number 1, and it's PET, and it's bad for you, and it's bad for me. It leaches many poisons, such as acetaldehyde. They fed it to their rats till half of them died. They shot it in the mouse's gut and in the dog's vein. Made 'em sick in the liver and blood and eyes and kidney and bladder and brain. These are the 7 deadly plastics. Let each one take a bow. And this is number 2, HDPE. And it's bad for you, and it's bad for me. Like all the other plastics, they make it using toxics. It generates a flood of hazardous waste, and the people in the factories get headaches, numb extremities, emphysema, tumours, liver damage in the workplace. Ho! These are the 7 deadly plastics. Let each one take a bow. And this is number 3, and it's PVC. And it's bad for you, and it's bad for me. Hormone disruptor, liver and testicle cancer, birth defects and learning disabilities. It's in Barbie dolls and teething rings, mother's milk and food wrappings. It fills the air with dioxins and PCBs. Ho! These are the 7 deadly plastics. Let each one take a bow. And this is number 4, LDPE. And it's bad for you, and it's bad for me. And they make it using benzene, which causes leukemia, fatigue, headaches, nausea, nervousness, insomnia. And they make it using several other nasty things besides, including hexane and carcinogenic hydroperoxides. These are the 7 deadly plastics. Let each one take a bow. And this is number 5, and it's polypropylene. And it's bad for you, and it's bad for me. And they dope it up with chromium and colour it with lead, so it messes up your body while it messes up your head. Ho! These are the 7 deadly plastics. Let each one take a bow. And this is number 6, and it's polystyrene. And it's bad for you, and it's bad for me. Menstrual and neurotoxic dislocation, spreading through the food and drink of every nation. It makes your fat cells its long-term home, and it reaches in your ovary and tweaks a chromosome. These are the 7 deadly plastics. Let each one take a bow. And this is number 7, and it's polycarbonate. And it's bad for you, and it's bad for me. And it gets you in the endocrine, hits babies much the worst. So we make sure that they drink it in with every baby thirst. Yes, it's used to make their baby bottles. Oh, what joy! Pretty polycarbonate for every girl and boy. Ho! These are the 7 deadly plastics. You know them all by now. But before you start to wonder why they're here and what they're for, you'll be pleased to know that there are 90,000 more.